I was calling my husband, letting him know what was going on. I was terrified. Okay. Hi, I'm Janessa. I started this little life project. I hope I keep up with it. But I started this life project so that my son can go back and look at it. And it's also for us so that we can go back and see. I would also hope that this video reaches somebody that is possibly going through a difficult pregnancy or has been diagnosed with PPROM. So yeah, this is our pregnancy story. I know I kept quiet about it to a lot of family and friends, and I think after watching this you might understand why. First and foremost, the whole video is just a very difficult conversation. So my husband and I found out that we were pregnant fairly early in the pregnancy, and we found out that we were having twins. So that was a complete shock, and this is probably going to be a shock to our family as well. When we found out that we were having twins, I remember just sitting in the car with my husband, and we were in silence. We were not saying anything, but we were just laughing. We were laughing. We were so happy and nervous and just feeling all the feels, right? So unfortunately, our baby didn't make it. And I know that this is a very difficult conversation to have or even listen to, but I feel like I'm strong enough to talk about it, especially because it's not really talked about. Miscarriages, I don't know if this would be considered a miscarriage, because we do have one of our babies with us, but I think miscarriages altogether, they're not talked about because it's a very difficult conversation to have. But when you go through it, it can be very isolating. It can be very lonely, and again, you don't know who has gone through a miscarriage. You're not going to ask somebody, and if you do ask somebody, you really shouldn't. That's something that's very near and dear to the mother's hearts. So a couple weeks after finding out that we had lost one of our babies, I was sitting down. I stood up and started walking, and I felt fluid going down my leg. At this point, I was 15 weeks pregnant, and the first thing that I thought was, am I urinating myself? Am I peeing myself right now? I was like, no, I'm not peeing. So I went to the restroom, and just the fluid kept coming down. I left work, and I was standing by my car, and I was calling my husband, letting him know what was going on. I was terrified. I was so scared. I didn't know what was happening. And as I'm talking to my husband, I look down, and there is just a puddle of fluid around me. So then I call the OB, and they said, well, sometimes, women pee themselves and they don't feel like they are, but they are. But if you would like to get checked out, we can see you, I think it was like the next day or the Monday after, something like that. The point is that I had to wait, and I was so nervous, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to wait. So my husband and I decided to go to the urgent care. Once we were at the urgent care, I got an ultrasound, and they told me that my fluid was very low, that there was still some fluid, but it was very low. They couldn't do anything because a baby is not very viable until they are 20 weeks. Used to be 22, now it's 20. Thank you, technology. So after the urgent care, I called my OB. My OB advised me to get into a tub of water, of warm water. And so I am just a nervous wreck. I fill up the tub with water and I get in for like 2 seconds and I just get out. Thankfully, my emotions were not getting the best of me at that time, because I feel like if I would have sat in that water, things could have gotten worse. So everything that I was looking up that was about PPROM. PPROM is pretty much the ruptured membrane, meaning that the sac had ruptured. All of the research that I saw was based off of India. Something that everything had in common was that you are more susceptible to an infection with PPROM, with a ruptured membrane. Girls even know this. Bubble baths and baths are not safe to begin with. They're not the healthiest to begin with. So sitting in a tub of water when you have a ruptured sac, you are more prone to infection. So again, I ruptured at 15 weeks. I put myself on bed rest. At 16 weeks, I went to see the MFM, which is pretty much a specialist, fetal specialist. And because I had put myself on bed rest, I wasn't really moving around. By the time that we went to see the MFM, he said, well, nobody should have been measuring your fluid, but everything looks good. You can go back to work. Listen to your instincts, okay? And vouch for yourself. I was very happy to get the news that my fluid was back up, but something just wasn't sitting right with me, and so I asked to be seen again after a week of going to work just to double check. And thankfully the MFM said, yeah, sure, come on in. You know, you're more than welcome to. Within that week of going to work, I was not moving around. I would just go from my car to my room and I would sit there all day. I went to work for that week and every day I was still leaking, every single day. So by the time that we went back after that week, the MFM told me your fluid is at an all-time low. I believe that is when I was officially diagnosed with PPROM. He said, you cannot go back to work. You need to be on bed rest. He did say that I can walk to my living room and walk around the house, but I was very strict on myself. And I said, I'm going on bed rest and that's where I'm going to be. So I was on bed rest and all I could think of was the more water that I drink, the more water can be in my system, the more water can hopefully go to my baby, and then my baby can pee out the amniotic fluid. Because if you didn't know, amniotic fluid is pretty much the fetus's urine. I was drinking, without exaggeration, at least 2 gallons of water every single day. I was drinking a lot of water. My meals consisted of soups, caldo de pollo, a lot of caldo, some albóndigas. I was very, very hydrated. I was also drinking an electrolyte every single day. Again, just trying to keep hydrated, trying to get those vitamins and minerals with food and with liquid. I was only standing up to use the restroom and to shower. Other than that, I was in bed and I would either be laying back a little bit or on my side. That's when I wouldn't lose fluid. So at 20 weeks, I went into the hospital and I was hospitalized.